Late night store clerks. What is the strangest things that's happened on the job? I work nights at a gas station in a pretty good neighborhood in New Hampshire, so usually it's pretty boring. One night I did have a customer really creep me out. I was just getting ready to close down the store when a little old man came in. He was small and dressed in khakis and a button-down shirt. I made the usual small talk of asking him how his day was going. Then as I was handing him his change, he firmly grabbed my wrist, made direct eye contact with me, and said, "Hell is a real place and the devil has already got his hand on you, girl. Be careful." At that point you should have grabbed his wrist and said, "He's got his hand on you too." No, because that's when the holy hand grenade comes out. I work third shift at a Sheetz. For those of you who don't know, it's a gas station slash convenience store slash fast food place. On multiple occasions I have been cussed out because we discontinued pickle chips. I've had people tell me to duck off, break things, demand to call corporate, etc. Drunk people love pickle chips. Edit. I get it. Sober people love pickle chips too. After getting off work late one night, I walked into our local Sheetz just in time for the bar rush. There was an obviously drunk middle-aged woman attempting to drink coffee creamer out of the dispenser. Once she got her fill, she moved over to the sweetener dispenser, put her head under it, and started to fill up there till an employee escorted her out of the store. I've never been a store clerk, but I was lucky enough to witness the following story. 7 to 11, circa 1996. A guy walks up to the surly clerk, who seemed to work 25 hours a day, and asks, "Do you sell eggs by the 1/2 dozen?" Clerk: "No, you have to buy a dozen." Guy: "I only need 6 clerk, I don't care. You get 12, or you get 0. Without saying another word, the guy walks back to get his dozen eggs, pays, and walks out. Then he throws his 6 unwanted eggs at the store window before driving off. I work at a deli, and about a half hour from close a woman comes to the counter and just says lamb bone. We had it, so I go to the back freezer. Come back to the counter and her daughter is there. She tells me to cancel the order. Meanwhile her mom is right beside her repeating lamb bone over and over again. She had dementia, and I didn't even notice. In your defense, this is how many people ask where things are. Cheese whiz. 11:30 PM in Orsia, and on break working till 4 AM in a sort of restaurant slash fast food store. Last week I saw a woman order 4 burgers, but wanted no ingredients other than lettuce, not even any bread. I offered if she would like to just buy the lettuce as a topping and just pay $1.25 for it, but she insisted on ordering 4 servings of burger lettuce at full burger price. Was she trying to buy weed or something? That almost sounds like code speak. If not, that's just really weird. Turns out she was at the wrong place. There's some really confused vegetarian with a bag of weed from McD's. I worked 11 PM to 7 AM shift in an all-night garage for a few months when I was 18. There was this weird Vietnamese dude who drove a white Honda Prelude and always filled up with 6 pounds 66 of petrol. He wore the same pair of cutoffs every time, with blotches and bruises all over his legs, and used to literally wander in, leaning against the displays, pick up as many yogurts as he could carry, pay with a 50-pound note and stagger out. One time he came in with these 2 obviously prostitute women who were draped all over him with the biggest pupils I have ever seen. They stood at the counter while I scanned all their yogurts, and he spoke for the first and only time. Staring at me, said to the women, "She can join us, can't she?" One of the women looked at me and said, "You'll make a lot more money if you come with us, darling." I nervously laughed, took their cash and they left, grinning in silence. Damn, the Honda Prelude was a sick car though. Even amongst the mad story of a Vietnamese dude and his hookers trying to solicit you, the Prelude gets a mention. Had a guy pull up to the pump, unhooked it wanting post-pay. Our policy said not to authorize it between midnight and 5 AM prepay only. I announced this to the dude over the loudspeaker. I'm pretty sure he was wasted. He continued to get more and more belligerent. When he started beating the pumps with the nozzle slash hose, I called the cops. Dude starts banging on the door, locked. No way he would get in. can't, gets frustrated, and finally just whips his deal out and starts wagging it in the general direction of the store. The CCTV is getting all this, so I just start laughing my ass off. Then the cops pull up, and 2 deputies put this poor, drunk deal wagging man away in the back of a police car. I quit a few months after that. Aside from the shit covered walls and vomit that you'd expect from a typical gas station, I could say this was the most peculiar. I had a man come in and buy a novelty lighter and some lighter fluid. No biggie. Sometime the next week, police came in and asked for our camera footage the night I sold the lighter and stuff. The guy apparently used that lighter and fluid to kill his 3-month-old baby. FCK people man. That took an unexpectedly dark turn. I watched a truck pull up to one of our pumps. Guy gets out to pump gas. A Durango comes hauling us from the back of the building. Another guy gets out with a gun, aimed at the first guy. I was on the phone with a friend of mine and said, "Someone just pulled a gun at the pump. I'm going to have to let you go." I called the cops. Turned out the guy pumping gas had robbed a store 3 towns over, and the Durango was an undercover cop who had been in pursuit. Another time, a guy came in, walked to the back cooler, got a can of Sprite, and came to the register to check out. As I'm ringing him up, one of our local cops walks in, gun drawn, says, "Put your hands on the counter. Put your hands on the counter, now." Well, I put my hands on the counter along with the customer, because all I'm thinking is, I have no idea what I've done, but I'm very sorry for it. Turned out that guy had been involved with a robbery of a convenience store in the next town 5 minutes away, had fled in a Mustang with 2 other individuals. They wrecked the car trying to evade the cops. All 3 dispersed, 2 were apprehended pretty quickly, but the 3rd came into the store to either blend in or rob me. I honestly don't know which. After the festivities and them hauling the guy away, the cop told me he had almost lost it when I put my hands on the counter too, and that I should really rethink working closing shifts at my age. I was 19 at the time and I'm female. I laughed and was like, and give up free entertainment. Edit. First story to clarify, the undercover cop jumped out of the Durango with a gun, pointed at the suspect. Oh man, I have a good one. But I'm always late to these things, so no one will probably read this. I used to work at a gas station in a really small town. There was this old homeless guy with a weird glass eye that would walk around with an uncovered 5-gallon bucket of pickled pig's feet. The pig's feet were submerged in this pink picking juice that would splash all over the damn place when he walked around. Not to mention that during the summer, this bucket would ducking reek. So one of my first days on the job, he came into the gas station to buy a tall boy Bud Ice. I rang him up, and he plunged his hand down in the bucket and pulled out a pig's foot, in which he slammed on the counter. After a bit of back and forth explaining that pig's feet were not a form of currency, I just gave in and let him have the $2 beer I paid for it myself. So about once a week, he would walk in, and we would have this pickled pig foot / Bud Ice understanding. Other customers in line would lose their ducking minds after seeing this deal go down. I'd throw the pig's feet in the woods out back where the stray cats would eat them. It was a whole ecosystem of ducking weirdness. This went on for about 6 months before I eventually found another job. The guy was insane, but nice as could be. I called him Pigfoot Larry. Regular male customer living across the street came over with flip-flops and a towel around his waist, dripping wet. Grabbed a bar of soap, tossed $5 on the counter, and walked back out. Had 3 girls walk in at about 3 in the morning. I would swear they were 13 to 15 years old. Black mini skirts, see-through black tops, red bras, red thongs showing. Bought some candy and left. First one is funny, the second one is scary and creepy. I feel bad for the guy in the first one. It's slightly better than not having toilet paper. You just know that the guy got in the shower, realized, and stood there for a couple minutes just wondering how his life got to this point. Brother worked at a servo gas station at night. Guy tried to rob the place with a brick. Nobody move, this is a brick up. I hope I'm not too late to the party here. I used to work the graveyard at a gas station near my place. Pretty normal night. Clean. Stock smokes. Clean again. Sit behind the counter. A woman came in about mid-30s with a little boy with her. She was in tears and her clothes were torn a bit. She came up and asked to use the phone. When she got off without getting an answer, she asked to stay here for a bit. I told her it would be no problem. About 20 minutes goes by and I wound up giving her and her kid free drinks and one of the sandwiches we have on the hot rack. She was in the store for about 30 minutes until her boyfriend came in and found her and her kid. He was pretty calm at first but then started screaming at her and telling her she needs to come with him. Luckily before anything crazy happened, a cruiser pulls up to the front and two cops come in and intervene. He was arrested right there. I guess he had been beating her in front of her kid and she was trying to run away. I'm glad I got to keep her away from harm for at least a little bit. Was a scary night. Edit. Thank you for the gold. I wish I knew what came up those two, but I can only hope that asshole was put away and they were never bothered again. Beat up kid comes to us at 3 AM. Blood everywhere. Doesn't want us to call an ambulance. Our policy says if they don't want us to, we can't. So he was just chilling there, bleeding. When we said we were going to call the cops to help, he bolted. My bet was he had a warrant out for his arrest, so that's why he didn't want any medical/police attention. Edit. Store policy clarification. That policy is meant for like, if a customer stubs their toe and either demands or declines an ambulance. If this kid is an adult and decides he doesn't want the medics called, in corporate sigh, they honor him. But had he been dying, obviously we would call. Edit numero 2. Only because my inbox is on hotter than my fam's mixtapes, we don't know this guy. If he has a warrant out for his arrest for a felony and we call an ambulance to pick him up, he would probably get violent with us, punching us away, because he knows they come. He goes to jail.